It is the summer to fall transition, and I'm telling you right now on this lake, fishing is tough. Hi there, welcome to the Bass Fishing Life. I'm your host, Steve Rogers. Before we get into the video, punch the subscribe button, hit the notification bell, and make sure you drop a comment below so we can engage with each other here on the channel. Well, today I've got a couple hours and I'm gonna go out on my home lake and see if I can figure out where the fish are at, and two, how to catch them. And I'm telling you, the fishing is really, really difficult right now. We've got a couple things going on. One, it is definitely that transition period. The water temp, today we've had a couple hot days. That surface temp is back up to 80, but just 2 days ago it was hovering around that 70 to 71 degree mark. So the surface temp has fluctuated a lot. The weather has not been very stable, which is always bad as far as fishing goes. You want 3 stable days and then the bite's pretty good. But a couple other factors we have going on here is the water is crystal clear. I can be sitting in 20 foot of water. The depth finder says 20 foot up there on the bow, and I can see the bottom, okay? Crystal clear, so that makes things extremely difficult. The other problem we have here is the vegetation is almost completely gone. There's a few spotty places here and there, but this is a lake that is controlled by an association. So it's, you know, like a lot of lakes shared with water skiers and wave runners, tubers, anglers, that type of stuff. And they do weed control on the lake, because if not, the weeds actually take over and then nobody can enjoy the lake. But the last time the weed control was done, boy, it did a number on it. And all of a sudden, this lake bed looks like the surface of Mars. The cover that these bass are used to hanging to and relating to is completely gone. So we're gonna see if I can find them and if I can catch them. We're gonna switch over to the GoPro here in just a second to see what happens. The battery life is quite a bit longer on that one than it is on my normal filming camera, so that's why things are gonna look a bit different. But we're gonna see if we can make things happen. So stay tuned and let's figure it out. That's one. It's a little one, but it's a start. That's a little better, but still small. We have taken a break here, and it did not take too long to realize that, man, the bite is tough. Some of my buddies that fish this lake all the time have been texting me, emailing me, messaging me and say, man, is the bite hard for you too? Yeah, the bite is definitely difficult for me too. So here's the way I diagnosed it, and it took about a half hour to get onto something. And if we had more daylight left, we're starting to get at the end of the day, I'm sure that we could repeat this and put some more fish in the boat. But as you saw, I caught a couple of them pretty quickly. So here's what I did. The first thing that I did when I know the fishing is super tough, and I've talked about this in previous videos, is I found 45-degree banks. All right, and I'll put a link here in the description and up above in the card for that video. But I not only found 45-degree banks, I found a 45-degree bank on a point, and that is even better. Points are very popular places. Why? Because they hold fish, they come out. I found a good one that actually had a little bit of vegetation left up shallow, and then it dropped into 30 feet of water very quickly. I pulled up onto that point and had a bite within just a cast or two, which is a really, really good sign. And then I moved on down that bank about 100 yards to another 45-degree bank and caught one pretty quickly as well. So if I had more time, I could probably repeat that through the rest of the evening, and maybe when I'm done filming here, I'll go ahead and go back out until dark. But I wanted to get back with you to let you know in these tough conditions, start with high probability areas. So I started on a point, and on a point that had a 45-degree bank. The other thing that I did, knowing that this lake, the primary cover is vegetation throughout most of the year, I made sure I had my graphs going, my side imaging when I was idling, and also my bow mount graph, and I was looking for any remaining vegetation I could find down low, 20, 25, even down to 30 feet. And then I chose to start with a shaky head. This is the particular setup that I was using. Okay, this is a 1/4 ounce shaky head. There's a bazillion of these different shaky heads out on the market. But one thing that I think makes a difference, at least in my confidence anyway, is this particular finesse worm is made out of the Elastec. And in our Carolina rig video for the underwater footage, you saw what a difference that Elastec makes, because this shaky head, if it was traditional plastic, would be doing this kind of down in the water. But because it's Elastec and it floats, when I'm holding it, it's just sitting there just like this. The tail is buoyant and it's floating up. So even when I'm not imparting any action whatsoever with the rod, this worm still has life to it. And I have fished this particular setup behind people that are also fishing a shaky head, and I've caught fish that they haven't. I really believe that this makes a huge difference. Now, one thing that did not happen today is I didn't get any bites on the drop. Sometimes with a shaky head, I get a bite as that is falling down through the water column. Did not happen today. Both of the fish that I caught pretty quickly, as you saw, I mean, they were small. They were not very big fish, but it told me they were there, and that is the key to fishing in the fall. If you find a spot that has fish, work it over. Don't leave them. Yes, you might find a scattered one here or there, and you can put the trolling motor down and really head down that bank and pick off one here and pick off one there. But I firmly believe that in this summer to fall transition, as the fish start to change their forage base or change their location, moving shallow to deep, from deep to shallow, is that if you find a spot that holds one, there's something about that area that's going to hold others as well. So I like to go back, fish it thoroughly. I did take a couple minutes when I was done with the shaky head and put a drop shot rig on. I only had one bite on that drop shot, and it felt like it was probably a bluegill. And one thing that I did notice on the graph, if I was to, in hindsight, think about this and go back, I was picking up a lot of fish suspended out into the lake in about 35 foot of water, and they were suspended about 20 foot. A couple of them looked like some schools of crappie, schools of bluegills. There was some carp and stuff out there. But if those bluegills and crappies were out there, there's a good chance there's going to be some big bass with them as well. So if I was to rewind this, go back again in this limited amount of time that I went out, I would probably take that drop shot and keep the trolling motor on, look for the school on my graph, and then drop down to it in that suspended range. That is something that is not super easy to do, but we can definitely sometime put a video together for that as well, but that'll be another time. But I can honestly say that I was hoping I was going to catch some bigger ones, but you know, it took me about 30 minutes to find a couple, and that is what you want to do this time of year, is to find them. And today the shaky head was the bait that found them for me. So I can honestly say that, you know, I'm happy I was able to get on fish. It wasn't the couple of bites that I was hoping for, But man, you got to fight through this tough time of year. And actually in our Facebook group, I have gotten quite a few messages from guys and gals saying, hey, I'm in, up in the corner of Pennsylvania. Hey, I'm in New England. I'm over in South Dakota. Is it tough there for you too? And yeah, I message them back and say it is really tough for me here as well. But that is what makes fishing so great. When you get that bite on a tough day, you can feel like that you have accomplished something. Hey, don't forget to make sure that you encourage somebody today. You never know what a difference you're going to make in their life. For the bass fishing life, I'm your host, Steve Rogers.